afternoon. I hope that lunch break energized you for this afternoon sessions because we are in for another afternoon long learning. So, may I know how you're feeling? How are you doing? Or maybe anything that you feel. Please send an emoji or a word to our in-call messages to let us know how you're doing. Come on, teachers, go. Wow, busog. That's so nice to hear. Okay, heart emoji. All right, beautiful. Okay, thank you so much to those who responded. I am so glad that everyone feels great. I hope that everyone could relate to the people who responded in our in-call messages. Thank you so much. Let me remind you of our day 2 midday login as it is still open through the link crawling at the bottom of your screen or sent in our in-call messages. Make sure that you access the link before it expires at 1:30 p.m. Also reminding everyone that just like yesterday, the attendance will be checked thrice a day. One in the AM login, two midday login, and the last one will be the logout. You will be reminded to log in for attendance from time to time, so be prompt in accessing the link so you won't miss it. And now to start our afternoon right, I welcome you all to the plenary session. In this part, we will talk about research data on teaching learning experiences. This topic is very crucial to our new learning modality now. As facilitators of learning, we must learn how to adjust to different types of students, bearing different kinds of abilities and having different learning styles. We have to make use of the research data as a tool for us to improve our teaching strategies and methods to develop a student-centered educational approach. So to know more about these, this afternoon I am pleased to introduce to you our resource speaker, the director of the Institutional Research and Publication Office herself, Dr. Carousel Tagailo.
Thank you, Miss Abing. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone has already eaten his or her lunch. Some of you answered a while back na busog, some are sleepy. And for those who are sleepy, I just hope you won't fall asleep during my talk, no? So I would like to thank the EDM team for giving me the opportunity to share about some data on teaching learning experiences. In as much as I want to share about our own teaching learning experiences in the university, but unfortunately, the studies conducted in our university are not yet complete. So what I will be sharing this afternoon are pieces of information taken from various studies conducted during the COVID-19 pandemic. So our objectives for this 1 hour session are to compare the teaching learning experiences before and during the pandemic, identify significant concerns in the teaching learning experiences brought about by COVID-19, discuss prevalent teaching learning variables during the pandemic, and demonstrate how research objectives are transformed into research questions. And our topics in this afternoon session are outlined based on how they appear in our objectives. So in our next slide will be our outline. So you are seeing the same topics in the objectives. So I would like to start my presentation by showing you an image of a black swan. According to Halliburton 2020, COVID-19 is a black swan. So when we say black swan event, it is unexpected, a hard to predict event, not within the range of normal human expectations, and it alters dramatically the course of history, society, and economies. So just like COVID-19, it struck us unprepared and drastically changed all business sectors and institutions. In the education, we made abrupt amendments to the teaching learning conventions and practices we lived by in many years. So we were confronted without problem to adapt to the modular learning. So I would like to present all the problems and the challenges, or if not the specific concerns that we encounter during the pandemic. Okay, so despite the confusions and fears, we are in the academe still manage. In other words, we in the academe still manage to think of how we could continue the teaching and learning experiences, though we had so many questions about the bleak future. We embrace the changes in the teaching learning experiences brought about by COVID-19, from face-to-face modality. um, we learn to adapt to modular learning modality from fixed schedule of teaching and learning. Uh, we adopt the flexible schedule from teacher guided instruction. We then learn the computer assisted instruction, and we also have the home-based learning from classroom learning. So again, as I've said, COVID-19 pandemic has generally led to the rapid transformation in technological innovations and digitalizations in schools. Teachers of all ages and students of all grade levels were encouraged to be technologically adept. Along with these changes are also significant concerns in the teaching learning experiences. As expected, the transition from in-person instruction to modular learning is problematic, complicated, and mentally and physically draining. We can still remember how we started. According to Doc Wenny, it was a mess. We fought hard, we cried hard. There were times when we wanted to give up, but we could not because we have mouths to feed. We completed, we competed with ourselves under circumstances we were in, making modules, beating deadlines, learning the new learning management system, and at the same time guarding ourselves and family so we could all together survive the pandemic. It is almost 2 years now, and here we are, still thriving and learning. Since it has almost 2 years of the implementation of online learning, it is critical that we examine the significant concerns in the teaching learning experiences in an online class. It is by examining these concerns and issues that we learn to move forward productively and positively. We cannot give our students the same experiences with what we had when we shifted to modular learning almost 2 years ago. According to Hodges et al. 2020, cited in view, well-planned active online learning lessons are markedly different from the emergency online teaching offered in response to a crisis. This time, we cannot anymore use the pandemic as an excuse for remaining ineffective and unprepared. 2 years may not be enough to acquire the technological, pedagogical content knowledge needed in today's flexible learning. 2 years may not be enough to make us all tech savvies, but 2 years is enough to know what our students need and enough to know how we can serve them better. These different concerns I am presenting are taken from various studies, both here and abroad. Since learning does not depend only on content knowledge during this pandemic, but also on technological knowledge, digital literacy is a key to effective learning. As learning goes online, the issue on digital divide emerges and becomes popular in a number of studies. We all know that with unequal access to internet come also unequal opportunities in learning. Other issues in flexible learning are increased use of online tools, unfavorable home learning environment, accessibility of appropriate technological devices, limited collaborative learning opportunities, reduced learning motivation, particularly for the offline learners, for they experience isolation of learning. So they don't have somebody to ask about some concerns or some issues in their studies. So another is increased learning burdens. So our students meet deadlines left and right. And we all know that with the present learning modality that we have, our students are bombarded with a lot of tasks. So another significant concern in the teaching learning experiences during this pandemic is high internet cost. And this is not just felt by students, but this is felt by everyone. And even if we are paying much for our internet connection, still we receive poor internet connectivity because we live in the Philippines. Okay? So, beside these concerns, there are bigger challenges that we need to assess to ensure teaching and learning continuity this pandemic. So, in the next slide, according to Jagbel et al., um, next, next slide, please. Teaching and learning continuity amid the pandemic requires an analysis of the parameters by which the university operates for the perspective of the stakeholders to include the students, faculty, curriculum, and external stakeholders. In the next slide are challenges and issues in still. They are bigger challenges and they are to be addressed by administrators and or by our university. So these are capacity building of the faculty, and under this are pedagogical adaptations, digital competence. Next is curriculum recalibration. Our university terms this as re-engineering. And third is infrastructure upgrade. Then the last one is implementation and assessment of strategic plans. Let me start with the first challenge shown in the next slide. Teachers' competence is a very important factor to learning. Teachers' mastery of the subject matter and ability to deliver the subject in a way that it is understood easily by students were some key concerns in the past. So in the past, according to Schulman 1986, teachers must have a set of content knowledge. When we say content knowledge, specific knowledge about the subject they are teaching, and a set of pedagogical knowledge, which means knowledge about how to teach, including specific teaching methods. And I think this was discussed by Sir John Mark in the parallel session this morning. Okay? And the combination of these two is called pedagogical content knowledge, also known as the PCK. Pedagogical content knowledge also includes an understanding of what makes the learning of specific topics easy or difficult. Since computer-mediated instruction is something that teachers were not trained for, to ensure academic continuity, we need to capacitate our teachers. We need to empower them by investing in the necessary skills development and capacity building so they can adapt to the new teaching pedagogies during this pandemic. But before we learn about pedagogical adaptation, let us define first pedagogy. So pedagogy refers to the interactions between teachers, students, and the learning environment and the learning task. Learning is dependent on the pedagogical approaches teachers use in the classroom. But today's learning modality requires more than just pedagogical content knowledge. Regardless of age, teachers need to possess the technological knowledge and also the ability to use this in facilitating learning. Thus, teaching competence in online learning modality necessitate teachers to adopt the TPAC. As I've said, TPAC was discussed by Sir John Mark this morning. So for those who were not able to hear the discussion, I think this is for you, though I may not elaborate the topic, just to give us an idea of what TPAC is. Technological pedagogical content knowledge. It's a theory that was developed to explain the set of knowledge that teachers need to teach their students to teach effectively and to use technology. It attempts to identify, can we have this slide, please? It attempts to identify the nature of knowledge required by teachers for technology integration in their teaching while addressing the complex, multifaceted, and situated nature of teacher knowledge. So in our next slide, um, this is the framework introduced by Kuller and Meshra. Um, According to Kuller and Mishra, we have to understand these 7 areas of teacher knowledge because they serve as the heart of good teaching. So, TPAC is para bang a result of the combination of many types of knowledge. So the first one, I just borrowed the definitions of Santos and Castro, for they are easy to understand. So the first component or the first element of this TPAC is content knowledge. Content knowledge is the knowledge about actual subject matter that is to be learned or taught. Teachers must know about the content they are going to teach and how the nature of knowledge is different for various content areas. And this is what we have been doing for many years. Another element is the pedagogical knowledge, also known as PK. Pedagogical knowledge refers to the methods and processes of teaching and includes knowledge in classroom management, assessment, lesson plan development, and student learning. And the combination of these two is what we call pedagogical content knowledge, which refers to the content knowledge that deals with the teaching process. It is different for various content areas as it blends both content and pedagogy, with the goal being to develop better teaching practices in the content areas. So another very important knowledge that we have to possess as teachers in the flexible learning is the technology knowledge. Technology knowledge refers to the knowledge about various technologies ranging from low-tech, such as pencil and paper, to digital technologies, such as desktop computer, internet connection, laptop, monitor for projection, television, printer, scanner, speaker, tablet, etc. And next is we also have this um, technological pedagogical knowledge, which is also known as the TPK. Technological pedagogical knowledge refers to the knowledge of how various technologies can be used in teaching and to understand that using technology may change the way teachers teach. And we also have technological content knowledge, TCK. I know it's really very difficult to understand and to remember all this. So technological content knowledge refers to the knowledge of how technology can create new representations for specific content. It suggests that teachers understand that by using a specific technology, they can change the way learners practice and understand concepts in a specific content area. So when we combined all of this results to the TPAC framework. To understand the complexity of this framework, it requires us another session, and maybe I would not be the resource person for that session. We can have the education teachers. So another important issue in online learning is digital competence. Okay? Also known as digital literacy and digital fluency. According to Puni et al., educating people in becoming digitally included and competent is to shift away from the consolidated tradition of teaching how specific software works and to move towards educating for competence. This implies the need to be critical and reflective on what we do with technologies, aware of the possibilities and the risks that technologies offer, and ready to move along technological changes in order to keep up to date with the latest developments. So if we will define digital competence, it refers to the set of skills, knowledge, and attitudes to enable the confident, creative, and critical use of technologies and systems in an increasingly digital world. So by just looking at this definition, still it's difficult to understand what digital competence is. So so that we can better understand this digital competence, so let us have the idea of Ferrari 2013. He introduced this framework, which is called DevCom framework. The next slide, please. The DevCom framework of Ferrari integrates the following five competencies in the context of digitalization. So the first one is we have information and data literacy, communication and collaboration, digital content creation, safety, and problem solving. So if we have all these competencies, then we can say that we are digitally competent. The first dimension, according to Ferrari 2013, which is information and data literacy, is the ability to identify, locate, retrieve, store, organize. Yes, Ma'am Sarah. Um, okay, so I thought there's a question. So to continue, again, um, information and data literacy is the ability to identify, locate, retrieve, store, organize, analyze digital information. Individuals with this competence can judge the relevance and purpose of information and data. Next is communication and collaboration, referring to the ability to work with other people in a digital environment by sharing resources through online tools. This competency involves interacting with and participating in communities and networks and requires cross-cultural awareness. And our third competence is digital content creation, is the creation and editing of new content from word processing to images and video. Content creation focuses on creative expression, media output, and programming. I believe editors, bloggers, content creators have this competency. And I also believe that the EDM team has this competency as well. Okay, and next is the safety, which refers to our knowledge of personal data and digital identity protection issues. Security measures. If we have this competence, we can protect ourselves from bullies because we know what to share to others and what not to share online. And finally, the last one is problem solving. It is the ability, our competence to identify digital needs and resources. It is not enough that we know how to open Google Meet, how to open and upload images and videos, but it is important to make use of technology in addressing issues of our students. We all know that becoming a digitally competent person does not happen overnight. It takes much studying, learning, applying, and practicing digital information, application, and tools. There are so many struggles in this competence among teachers my age. So we all know nga, teachers my age, medyo gahi-gahi na gid kaayo. But we can see the joy experienced by our young teachers because they can really explore a lot of things using technology. If you will compare, di ba, the modules of young teachers and senior teachers, you can really see the difference. Sometimes we feel insecure seeing their very creative presentations. But anyway, we still have time to learn. That's why we have this training, we have this webinar this afternoon. Another challenge we all face in the academe is curriculum recalibration, which is presented in the next slide. Curriculum is a standards-based sequence of planned experiences where students practice and achieve proficiency in content and applied learning skills. And calibration is meant to reassure stakeholders in higher education, such as students, employers, and the general public, that national standards are consistent with expectations and across institutions. Why do we need to recalibrate our curriculum? When we shifted to online learning, we left some practices in the traditional way of teaching behind. We changed curricular programs, we changed teaching and learning design, we changed learning resources, we changed our assessment methods, assessing only the important competencies. In short, the educational landscape and the learning conditions have changed this pandemic. Thus, there is a need for curriculum recalibration or re-engineering. According to, in the next slide, Jagbill, in their studies, in the next slide, please, we will see some activities. These are just suggestions, no, from Jagbill and company. Sir Ted? Okay, so this is part of curriculum recalibration and can also be part of capacitating our faculty members. So we have here upskilling and rewiring through series of online trainings on module development for flexible learning distance education and the use of an online learning management system for faculty members. Reskilling and reconfiguring of faculty through webinar series on laboratory teaching using simulation learning for teachers handling laboratory, RLE, OJT. And as I've said, what we are doing this for 2 days is already part of this curriculum recalibration. Another challenge that needs to be addressed is in the next slide is the infrastructure upgrade. We all know the downside of having low internet connection, no? It makes us ugly during virtual conferences. It makes us ugly because there are times that our images and our faces have glitches on the computer screens of our students. And sometimes our videos just stop and focusing on the most awkward expressions of our faces. Sometimes dago kay tagmatad, no? On the screens of our students, nagngangata. But this is something that we have to accept because this is part of the imperfection of this type of modality. Okay, so Jagbill et al. 2021 suggested these some activities that we can do to help our students in this flexible learning. Provide small learning activity packages for learners with slow internet connections. I know that what we are doing as we prepare our materials, our activities, we do not segregate the activities. It's for everyone. We do not select who are those students with strong internet connection and who are those with um, very poor internet connection. Because if we will separate the activities, it will be an additional task on the part of our teachers. But maybe the moment we can adjust and maybe we can master everything about this modality, we can do that. And second, in short changes to the learning activity that can be made with internal resources, determine characteristics, possibilities, and limitations of the learning management system to be used and ensure consistency of access across platforms, change its internet subscription to higher bandwidth and subscription to Zoom for online meetings and conferences. Sana. But, maybe we can have this soon when we know that for now our university cannot yet maybe afford changing our internet subscription to a higher bandwidth. Okay. Other advantages of network infrastructure upgrade are presented in the next slide. So we have better security, improved speed and reliability, less time for performing network maintenance, more compatibility, better hardware, improves scalability. Lastly, it is not enough that the university capacitates its workforce, recalibrate its curriculum, upgrade network infrastructure, but it is also very important that the university will work collaboratively with its stakeholders in implementing its strategic plans. Collaborative participation of all administrators, faculty, staff, students, parents, and other stakeholders helps the institution to move forward while successfully managing issues and concerns in flexible learning and at the same time mitigating risk. So we have here continuous process of consultation, feedbacking, and intensive monitoring are important ingredients for a successful strategic plan implementation. Strategic actions have to be continuously assessed, modified, and enhanced to respond to the volatile, uncertain, and changing scenarios in times of crisis. All of these challenges and concerns related to flexible learning can be research variables. Though there are many other things that depict the learning conditions of our students, all of these will remain subjects or possible topics for research unless we take time to examine and write about them. We will not know if the strategies and assessment methods we use are effective unless we really hear the confirmation from our students. We all know that the number of honor students has exponentially increased this pandemic. Does the grade really measure or represent the amount of learning students get in their online classes? Does the 95% grade in full online learning equate to the 95% grade in in-person instruction? Are our strategies or the strategies we use in online learning effective? These questions and other clarifications will remain unresolved and unanswered unless we investigate about them. So in order to improve in our teaching, learning experiences during this pandemic, we have to identify the learning conditions we are interested in. So we have to write about them. We have to investigate about them. We cannot say that our students, because they passed our subject, we cannot say that our strategies are already effective. There might be other factors affecting their performance, not necessarily our strategies. That's why it's really very important to select these learning experiences and use them as our topic in our research studies. So my next presentation is about identifying teaching learning variables, formulating a research objective based on these variables, and transforming this research objective into a research question or questions. I know our senior faculty members are really very good at this. So we will have this as our example. So this is taken from my presentation, the digital competence, and we are using these other dimension introduced by Ferrari. Now, if you were to write a research study using these variables, what do you think will be your objective? Um, Looking at the topic, digital competence, and how will we measure digital competence? We can measure digital competence by also examining these other competencies. So information and data engagement, communication and collaboration, digital content creation, safety, and problem solving. Anybody from the audience who would like to try? Or if not, you can write your answer in our chat box. Okay, who would like to try? So I know a lot of you are teaching research. So if this is the topic, very simple, digital competence, if you were to write about this, and shall we say, your respondents are your students, or if not your students, maybe teachers in the university. Who would like to try? Nobody would like to try? How about you, Sir Jack June?
Good afternoon, Doc Carousel and everyone. I'll try, Doc. Um,
Okay.
for instance, the respondents here will be the students. So perhaps our research question might be, what is the level of students' digital competence in terms of the information and data engagement, communication and collaboration, digital content creation, safety, and problem solving?
Very good. So if that is our question, what do you think is our objective? Because when we write our research, we will start with our general objective. And from this general objective, we have the research questions. Yes, sir, Jack June, because you were right.
Sige, Doc. The general objective perhaps would be um, the examination or examining the digital competence among the students.
Okay, thank you, Sir Jack June. So that is the objective. So with this, no, looking at the variables, we can have that objective. The study aims to examine, or if not to assess, the digital competence of students. Okay, we have Ma'am Floor or Doc Floor. This study aims to determine the digital competence among students or teachers
For
in
teachers
terms
in terms
of,
of
okay, that's it. So thank you so much, Ma'am Flor. Okay, let me present what I have formulated, and it's similar to your answers. Next slide, please. Sorry, Ted. Okay, so to assess the level of digital competence of higher education teachers or students. And the question will be, what is the level of digital competence of the respondents in terms of. So if you are planning to conduct the study to both teachers and students, actually you can compare the result. So which between the two groups, no? Between the teachers and students, um, who are more competent digitally. So it would be embarrassing if the result kay the students are more competent compared to the teachers. But it's really very possible because we know that students are more techy compared to the teachers. And our next example, so how about if this variable will be paired with another variable? So we believe that digital competence affects, or if not, is related to student engagement in the class. So if you were to formulate a research objective, so what will be your objective? You can write your answer in our chat box. So we still have time. So we use the same variables now under digital competence. Who would like to try? Is there a significant relationship between digital competence and student engagement? Okay, thank you so much, Ma'am Floor. Yes, that is one question. By looking at the arrow, oh, it means now we are trying to find the significant relationship between these variables. Another, what could be our question? Or if not question, what could be our research objective? Okay, so if there are no more answers, I would like to present what I have formulated. So it's presented in the next slide. Okay, so this study aims to find out the relationship between the levels of digital competence and engagement of the respondents in their online class. The first question, what is the level of digital competence of the respondents in terms of information and data engagement, communication and collaboration, digital content creation, safety, and problem solving? Then the second problem would be, what is the level of engagement of the respondents in their online class? So you cannot find the significant relationship between the two variables unless you will answer the second problem. Okay? Then you have there the third problem, is there a significant relationship between the levels of digital competence and engagement of the respondents in their online class? And next, we are including in our next presentation a lot more variables. So our dependent variable is the digital competence, and our independent are demographic factors, namely gender, socioeconomic status, and age. Then our internal factors are technical skills, critical understanding, communicative abilities. Then we have the external factors, parental support, and teacher support. So if we have these variables, what do you think will be our research objective?
Who are the
Anyone?
respondents, gang? Ay, go. Sorry.
Uh, you can choose your respondents, the floor. You can have the students, or if not, teachers. No, for these students, because we have external factors, we have parental support and teacher support. Okay, who would like to try? So again, nobody would like to try? Yes, Ma'am Floor.
Tagaan jud ko nimo aning kapigang. What is
Thank you, ma'am.
What is the profile of the student respondents, a demographic profile of the student respondents in terms of gender, ACS, and age? Number
Yes.
two, kung sa many mga levels, what would be the level of uh, technical, kung sa many siya?
Internal factors.
Internal factors ka. Una sa course number 2.
Okay. So, internal factors are factors from ano no, they are performance, they are coming from students. When we say technical skills, it refers to the student skills, critical understanding, still all about the student, communicative abilities, still abilities of the students. When we say external factors, so outside, so external, so parental support, we also have teacher support. So let me present. Thank you so much, Ma'am Flor. Yes, we have an answer. What factors affecting the digital competence of the students? Yes, we can have that. We can have that if we have not identified ahead the factors. So that will be a qualitative study. Then we also have, thank you so much, Sir Wishley. We also have from Ma'am Eliza, is there a significant difference of students' level of digital competence when they are grouped according to the demographic factors? Yes. And we also have another one, is there a significant relationship between students' demographic, um, internal factors, external factors with their digital competence? Okay, so as researchers, you can really decide what questions you will ask and what design you will use, because you know, you are the researcher, so you know how to answer your questions, and you have already an idea on how you will gather the answers or the data that will answer to your questions. Okay, so let me present my formulated research objective and questions. So we have here, this study aims to find out the relationship between demographic factors and the levels of perception of the respondents on selected internal and external factors and their digital competence. The first one will be, what is the profile of the respondents, or what is the demographic profile of the respondents in terms of gender, socioeconomic status, age. Then number two is, what is the level of digital competence of the respondents in terms of information and data engagement, communication and collaboration, digital content creation, safety and problem solving. And we have another problem in our next slide. What is the level of perception of the respondents on the following internal factors? So how do students or how do respondents perceive their technical skills, their critical understanding skill, and their communicative abilities? Then 3.2, their external factors, parent support, teacher support. Then we have another problem. We are not yet done for number 4. So pang doctoral ni nga study, no? Okay, for number 4, is there a significant relationship between the demographic factors and the level of digital competence of the respondents? Okay, number 5, is there a significant relationship between the levels of perception of the respondents on the internal and external factors and their digital competence? Then for number 6, is there a significant difference between the levels of digital competence of the respondents when grouped according to their demographic factors? We have an answer DI from Ma'am Michelle. To what extent Do the following factors affects the student's level of digital competence? We can also ask that question. Okay? So, I think, yes, Ma'am Flor, maayo siguro ipunahon ang tanang IBs before the DV. Yes, ma'am, we can also have that. Okay, thank you so much, Ma'am Flor, for the suggestion. Okay, so why am I presenting the SOP of all the parts of research, no? We can start with the introduction, then related literature. SOP is really very important in writing research. Without clear problems, it would be too difficult to write the other parts of research. So research is not unidirectional. It does not mean that what we see in our study is the introduction. We will start writing the introduction. So how will we know what to write in our introduction if we do not know what the problems are? So that's why it's very important that we set the problems, we clarify all the problems that we want to ask in our study before writing the other parts of the research study. And I think that would be all for my presentation this afternoon. So our journey in this learning modality is still long, winding, and bumpy. While we remain healthy, we know we will continue to thrive, to teach minds, to touch hearts, and transform lives. Leave Jesus in our hearts forever. Okay, by the way, these are the references I used in my presentation. Are there questions? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tagalog, for that very detailed talk on research data. I'm sure the teachers here will be able to use what they have learned from you and make their teaching
TechZONEd
methods
Con
tailored
2022
to the needs of the
Festival of
student.
Learning.
I personally believe that if we do things right and continue to capacitate ourselves with the new teaching pedagogies, we will be able to combat the effects of the black swan, in this case, the pandemic. We will now have an afternoon break. Parallel session 5 will follow. So
TechZone
please
Con
proceed to your
2022.
room flashed on your screen at exactly 2:15. The links will be flashed and or crawling at the bottom of your screen right now or sent in our in-call messages. Just like earlier, all teachers from all levels, including the School of Graduate Studies, will be asked to join the parallel session room in which you signed up for. You may leave this plenary session call and enter your preferred room through the link provided to you, found at the bottom of your screen, or sent in our in-call messages. Thank you and enjoy your break. Please make sure to be back at 2:15.
TechZone Con 2022 is presented to you by LaSalle University's Educational Technology of Education.
Back from your sessions, teachers. I am sure that you enjoyed your time with the EdTech faculty champs, being introduced to new digital tools, updated Canvas features, and pedagogical methods that will surely aid in the development of new teaching strategies. May we continue the eagerness to learn new teaching methods and sharpen our skills in digital technologies so we can evolve our teaching along with the time. To wrap up day 2 of TechZone Con 2022 Festival of Learning, let us welcome the English Academic Assistant from the Basic Education Department, Miss Alisa Baluyos. Miss, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Miss. Good afternoon, Lasallian partners. Am I audible? All right, so let me start my synthesis of today's sessions by citing the reason why we are in this training, aside from the 10 CPD units that we can get, but also this prepares us teachers to thrive in the next normal as digitally competent educators. So the EDMS with Sir Ted, Brother Gino, and Miss Alex started the morning session, and we were informed, or for some, they were reviewed on the scope of blended learning, where they emphasized its nature, which could be suitable in the kind of learning modality that we are also using. They focus on how skill-based, attitude-based, and competency-based blended learning is. And we teachers are challenged on how we can integrate these in our teaching learning processes. And so, being in the basic ed parallel session, we were oriented by our principal, Dr. Glenna, and our vice principal, Sir Jackson, with the models and frameworks of blended learning. In their talk, we were introduced with different depth ed memos that support the implementation of face-to-face learning modality, in which these are the basis for us to implement the blended flexible learning or the blend flex, which will be the modality that we will be using in the next academic year. So initial guidelines were also crafted to address the learning gaps of our students. So the speakers emphasize that there will be three types of learning environments, namely the online asynchronous, online synchronous, and the on-site classes. And with a change of time, a contingency plan was also presented. Overall, the audience shared that it will be a challenging journey ahead. Now, during the parallel session that I attended on the emerging technologies for engaging learning experiences in an online environment, we were introduced with a new application similar to what we are using now, and that is Quizalize. Thanks to Miss Aprilyn and Miss Jezebel, who patiently spent their time demonstrating to us on how to use the application. Although, just like any other applications, pros and cons were honestly presented, but thankfully, the audience found the app noteworthy since it is a very good platform for student data analysis and for formative summative assessments. Now, Dr. Carousel started the afternoon session with her talk on the data on teaching learning experiences, where significant concerns in the teaching learning experiences and dimensions of competencies were discussed. She then highlighted the challenge that we are all facing right now, which is on the curriculum recalibration. That could be aided through the collaborative effort of everyone in the implementation and assessment of strategic plans. Now, further, we identified teaching learning variables in digital competence, and also we formulated research objectives. Finally, in another parallel session that I attended, still on emerging technologies for engaging learning experiences in an online environment, we were reoriented by Miss Blessy and Miss Shira on Canvas Rich Content Editor, which is, I think, the most used feature in Canvas. Yet with its new face, there were still a lot to learn to make our asynchronous modules be more varied and creative. Sincerely, I could say that this has been the most interactive and well-organized training that I have ever attended. Kudos to EDMS in partnership of Ideal. So it's my first time actually to be with an audience who is very enthusiastic and participative in sessions. Maybe because that is of our familiarity as Lasallian partners. But yes, learning with you has been a fun experience. So thank you so much, everyone. That will be all.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Alyssa. I think everyone will really agree with me that that was a very comprehensive wrap up of the Festival of Learning Day 2. Thank you. All right. So, in grateful recognition and appreciation of the speakers as they have shared their time and expertise in today's training, LaSalle University awards this certificate of appreciation to Mr. Ted Nugent F. Takan as a resource speaker for TechZONEd Con 2022 Festival of Learning. The same certificate is awarded to Brother G. Noel G. Endaya FSC as a resource speaker, Maria Alexandra S. Benitez as a resource speaker, Benjamin Labastin, resource speaker, Glenna C. Takan, Jack June G. Kaupayan, Kilveron A. Etulye, Jomari Y. Gapol, John Mark Saldivar, Aprilyn Alisna, J. Savel Tubigon, Mary Aniver Makiling, Regina Kale Alinas, Janelle Cruz, Carousel B. Tagailo, Charlene Navarez, Princess Grace C, Maria Jean Samoranos, John Diel Cataraja, Annalene Nazar, Jeric Ted Alfanta, Grandel Manriquez, Kizia Fernandez, Blessy Joe Migel Bahe, Shaira Bionog, and that's it. All right. So again, thank you so much to our resource speaker. Your efforts in sharing your knowledge is very much appreciated. All right. So before we proceed with the closing, allow me to read to you the following announcements. To all of us here who were not able to attend to all of the sessions, all recorded sessions for the plenary and parallel of the entire TechZONEd Con 2022 training will be emailed. For those who missed some sessions and those who are interested to review the training, you can access the videos until March 4, 2022. Date to log out is now open and you can now access it through the link provided on your screen and or in the in-call messages. You will be receiving your certificate with CPD units reflected after answering the evaluation form. For any clarifications regarding attendance and certificates, please contact EdTech team via email flashed on your screen until March 4, 2022. Thank you. Okay, now we come to the part where we formally close our program. So to formally conclude TechZONEd Con 2022 Festival of Learning, let us hear the closing remarks from the versatile director of IDEAL, Mr. Jazreel Faith C. Montes. Sir Jazz?
Thank you, Ms. Christine. The two-day training program designed to support and assist educators in the quest to enrich student learning experiences through emerging technologies and innovative models of classroom instruction in an online environment has significantly paved the university's transition to blended learning. TechZONEd Con 2022 would not have been possible without the relentless effort and dedication of the following. To the educational technology of the Educational and Digital Media Services team, composed of Sir Ted, Brother Gino, Miss Alex, Sir Noy, Sir Arjan, and Miss Jenny. To the parallel session speakers from day 1 to day 2. To our university president, Brother JJ, Sir Benji, Dr. Glenna, Sir Jack June, Dr. Carousel. To the IDEAL and the Office of the BPAL, Dr. Elsie. To our keynote speaker, Dr. Wenny. And to our active participants, our Lasallian partners from the basic education and the higher education units. Your participation and support have made the TechZONEd Con 2022 Festival of Learning one for the books. Congratulations and Animo Lasal.
Thank you, Sir Jazz. Yes, congratulations to everyone who helped us organize this very successful event. Now, let us thank God for blessing us in today's training and sustaining us as we continue our vocation as teachers. Let me call on our Vice President for Lasallian Mission, Brother Butch, to lead us our closing prayer.
Let us remember that we are in the most holy presence of God. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord God, you have always reminded us that your ways are not our ways, and that you graced us with wisdom and knowledge so to understand what is best for all of us. May you continue to bless us teachers, that we may strive to be better all the time, especially when life tests us. May we strive to be passionate of what we do, by how we relate with our fellow teachers, and most especially on how we accompany our students entrusted to our care. Grant us to remain zealous in learning more so we can grow as a person of faith, of service, and of community. Grant that we may follow you, your Son, Jesus Christ, the way, the truth, and the life forever and ever. Amen. I will continue, O my God, to do all my actions for the love of you. Saint John Baptist de La Salle, pray for us.
Pray for
With
us.
Jesus in our hearts forever.
Forever.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
All right, and in this moment, we will now hear a message of thanks from the organizing team along with a behind the scenes video compilation that they had prepared. So I hope that everyone is still here and will enjoy watching.
Hello, Science.
I'm Ted.
Brother Gino here. Effective album.
The needs, sorry, different
To
needs.
support students. Sorry, said.
Convenient for they complete questions.
Everyone, I hope everyone has already eaten. So, this part of the
TechZONEd Con 2022 Festival of Learning organizing team would like to thank the following: Office of the President for the direction set for the university, especially on spearheading the creation of the competencies and standards of quality learning that became the basis of the whole program. Office of the Chancellor for frequent and quality feedback in the development of TechZONEd Con 2022 Festival of Learning. Office of the Vice President for Advancement and Linkages, together with Mr. John Mark Saldivar, the former Kate person of our PRC CPDES account, for the assistance in making this program accredited. Office of the Vice Chancellor for Academics and Research, Office of the Principal and Vice Principal, as well as the Deans of the different colleges and the School of Graduate Studies, for permitting our faculty members to attend TechZONEd Con 2022 Festival of Learning. Our EdTech faculty champs, and all our resource persons for the dedication to assist our Lasallian partners in finding new possibilities in how we can conduct teaching, learning in the 21st century. Marketing and Communications Office for the designing of all our publicity materials. Lastly, the EdTech team would like to dedicate TechZONed Con 2022 Festival of Learning to the pioneer EdTech lead of our university, Mr. Erbeth Gerald Delvo, for the valuable inputs in the formulation of the early drafts of the TechZONed Con instructional design. Thank you so much!
All right. Wow, how cute. So who else had fun watching the BTS? All right. I know that everyone also smiled in their cameras or in their screens while watching. All right. So let us turn on our cameras now and show our happy faces. And wearing those smiles, let us document this successful event as we take snapshots of our screens. All right. Let's turn on our cameras, please, teachers. Participants, okay, let's smile and take a photo in 3, 2, 1, and smile. All right, another one. 1, 2, 3, smile. Last one. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, teachers, participants. The success of this 2-day training wouldn't have been possible if not for the team who spent days and nights organizing these events from the littlest of details. So again, thank you to LaSalle University in cooperation with the Educational Digital Media Services team and Institute for Development, Education, and Learning for making this event possible. May this event successfully equip us, teachers, with the necessary knowledge and skills to improve our teaching learning experiences and combat any black swans that may come. Thank you so much for your participation and attendance. This has been Miss Christine Honey Abing, your host for TechZONed Con 2022 Festival of Learning, now signing off. Animo LaSalle. Live Jesus in our hearts forever.
Forever.
Ever.
From the group at LaSalle University as we sing along to the alma mater.
Hail today, let's go!